Councillor Timothy Huxtable. He's a Conservative Cabinet Member for Highways and the Environment at Birmingham City Council. I bet you can guess what we're going to be talking about. Yep, bin collections, or rather the lack of them. Timothy Huxtable, thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Julia.
So you're a member responsible partly for highways and the environment. Well, this very much comes under your jurisdiction. Then no bin collections for more than a month. There were rolling bin strikes from January onwards. The council has failed to do a deal with Unite members representing the local bin collection officers, and we're looking at strikes continuing. How bad is it going to get?
Well, just one point, Julia. I'm the shadow cabinet member for Environment and Transport, so I don't actually run the service. Well, when I heard that the vote yesterday was to continue the strike, I just thought it's insufferable already. It's just going to get even worse, and I was completely dismayed. It's bad at the moment. The last figures that I heard were there were 21,000 tonnes of uncollected waste on the streets of Birmingham. The strikes have been going on from early January, so we've had the suspension of recycling collections, we've had the suspension of bulk waste collections, we've had the suspension of green waste collections.
Can people just take them? I mean, one of the suggestions from my guest Benjamin Buttle was, can people just take their rubbish to the dump?
They can.
Or is the dump already full? I mean, our local dump, they seem to require for you to make an appointment sometimes.
No. Everyone has to make an appointment, but they have extended the opening hours in Birmingham twice since the bin strike.
Okay, because I read this morning that we're looking at the cost of cleaning up the amount of waste that is now on the streets. £200 million, which of course will be paid for by the council taxpayers of Birmingham, who've already seen a massive hike in their council tax because the City Council has been run so badly in recent years.
Absolutely, and we had a 7.5% council tax increase this year, one of the highest across England, and that's on top of a 10% last year.
Yeah.
So it really
for worse services.
And worse services. Well, bins is the obvious one, but they're cutting library hours. My local libraries used to be 5 days a week, 35 hours. They're now being reduced to 21 hours a week.
Well, that's particularly an issue. I mean, and a lot of students doing GCSEs and A-levels and they go and work in libraries. A lot of people don't have a home they can work in during the day, so that's going to affect particularly kids on lower incomes. Well, that's a big issue. The thing is, I mean, a lot of the problems about this, the financial situation that Birmingham's in, would have happened whoever was in charge. There's been a lot of mismanagement over the years. It's a massive council, biggest council in Europe. I hadn't realised, but a lot of this comes down to this 2010 tribunal decision, and a couple of years later a Supreme Court view that pay of equal value should be paid, jobs of equal value, should be paid the same. So bin collectors being paid the same as the dinner ladies, but that means dinner ladies had to have a pay raise and they're getting back pay. And you're talking about multi-100 million pound back pay. Now, whether the Tories were in charge, the Reform, Lib Dem, whoever, still be stuck with that, wouldn't you? So it's not all down to Labour mismanagement who've been controlling the council.
It actually is, because those issues are historic and were settled. What the problem is that those issues were recreated in 2017 by the current Labour administration, ironically, to avoid industrial action in the run-up to local elections.
Okay.
So, and since 2017, not only have they created those equal pay liabilities that Birmingham is suffering from at the moment, but they've also had put millions of pounds into an athletes' village for the Commonwealth Games that didn't host a single athlete. And they also oversaw a computer system called Oracle, which is costing the City Council millions and millions of pounds because it's not fit for purpose. And we haven't been able to have proper accounts for many years.
Right, so there's a lot of other stuff that's been the decisions of that particular council. In terms of where we are in terms of the actual bin strikes right now, let's talk about them spreading to other cities and towns across the country. What would be a reasonable deal? Because it's very difficult to make head or tail of what the real situation is, because the Unite Union of Bin Workers are saying, 150 members of staff could face losing up to £8,000 pay by them basically abolishing a particular role that isn't in. Not every council has this particular role, they could save money that way. But then the council say, oh, it's only a handful of people who are facing that and they won't lose that much money. It's very difficult to make a judgment from outside when we don't know the facts.
Well, the role is unique to Birmingham, and that was the role that was created by the City Council 8 years ago.
As a way of giving everyone a pay rise.
As a way to avoid industrial action. So it is literally a mess of their own creation.
Right.
And yet there have been offers from help since we declared a major incident from Conservative councils, Dudley and Walsall, which have not been accepted, so I'm told, by the Labour Council.
So with offers of help, as in we'll come in and collect your rubbish for you?
Absolutely. So we declared a critical incident, a major incident. Local Conservative councils have said we will help clear the streets, made the offer to Birmingham City Council. I was speaking to the leaders yesterday. The City Council has not come back and accepted their offers of help.
Very, I mean, that would be infuriating if you were living in Birmingham. I'm sure many of our audience right now. What about the calls for the army to be sent in? Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, has got, I think 3 people working on logistics. I don't know what the logistics are. Send in trucks, pick up the rubbish and take them to the dump. Seems to me to be fairly obvious to anybody. I'm not sure you need to have a qualification in logistics to do that. But do you want the army sent in? Do you want literally, let's send the army in, pick up the rubbish and clean up those streets?
Well, when you've got local authorities who have those people and those vehicles at that disposal and they're offering help and that help hasn't been accepted, that's what's needed.
Okay.
We need to declare a public health emergency. We need to get on, clean the streets of rubbish, of fly tipping, try and get Birmingham as clean as possible, and of course stop the public health emergency and rats.
Indeed, the rats, yes, indeed. Councillor Timothy Huxtable is Conservative. He's a shadow cabinet member for Highways and the Environment in Birmingham City Council. Thank you very much for joining us. Some interesting information there. But I think Benjamin Butler's very telling, if that is the case. If offers of help from local councils who happen to be Tories saying, we'll come and help you collect your bins for you, if there's not even been a response and people in Birmingham are dealing with having to live with this mess and the unsanitary conditions, that is outrageous.
Yeah, it's outrageous. And also, learning that these jobs were created as a short-term solution and now they realise they can't afford them in the long term. Doesn't that just boil down to the problem we have in our political system? You said it earlier, I think. It's just about getting across the line on each election.
I mean, it ties in, I think, with train drivers and things like that. I mean, when there are massive strikes, it's all about whether or not you have someone whose job it is, to clear the signal or whatever. When if loads of other train companies don't have that, why do you need that on that particular railway unless there's a specific reason? And you just find yourself like, oh, everyone's on strike. Sort of, why on earth is this happening?